Hello, just a quick video on my diagnosis. So, went to the doctor. He didn't know what was wrong. Almost as an afterthought, he said maybe you should get an MRI. So I took the MRI form and I rang Jason and I said, he says I should get an MRI, but I don't know if I want to bother with that because it is radiation and realistically what's it going to do? And he said just get it. So I went and booked it, and then the next day, on the Tuesday before my operation, which was on the Friday, I went in and got the MRI. They did it initially and then came over to me while I was still in the MRI scan and said, do you mind if we put some contrast in so that the doctor can just see more of what's going on in your brain? And I thought, I'm here now, just do it. So they did that, and I went home, still suffering from my symptoms. Then the next day in the morning, the receptionist from my GP called and said, look, we'd like to come in. We've got your results. Do you mind if you can come in with someone? So I thought, this is unusual, but sure. So Jason and I drove in, and the doctor just said straight up, look, this is always hard, but you actually have a brain tumour. And he talked about that. Now, I didn't react very much because I don't know, it didn't hit home. I turned to look at Jason, and he was sweating, and it looked as though he was sort of going in and out of consciousness. So it hit him, and he actually says it was a panic attack, and I'm sure it was. And so we all laid him down, and the doctor told me that he was going to book a neurologist for 2 weeks' time for me. And I immediately thought, 2 weeks, how urgent could it be if he's saying that? So we left the GP's. I didn't want to go home straight away because I don't even know why. I felt like I wanted to prolong that. So we went to Mount Cootha Lookout. We walked around the botanical gardens, eventually went home. I rang my brother. When I was on the phone to him, it sounded like there were calls coming through, but I actually just figured they were for him. I don't know how that works. And then Jason came out of the house and said, emergency department is trying to contact you, you need to call them back. So I called them back. They asked me to come in ASAP, so I packed a bag with a few things, and we went in and waited for a little while, and then I was called in. And I remember he must have been a neurologist. He said it's actually fortuitous that they have my scan, and that the very next day they have a big meeting of neurologists and cancer people focusing on all the scans they've got, I guess is what that was. So I actually went in the hospital and was put in a ward and just waiting to see what was happening, what was going to happen. And then the next day, not the next day, and then later that day they told me that on the Friday morning, or on the Friday, I would have the operation. And that was astounding to me because I thought it was going to be 2 weeks. Just one other thing that I think is important is that on the Thursday they gave me a pill in the morning, and they probably told me what it is, but I am not a medical person, so I didn't take it in, and it was a steroid. So what it does is it took the swelling out of my tumour, and by that afternoon I felt really good. I felt really good, like better than I felt in a long time. I walked downstairs, I was walking up and down stairs, up and down elevators, outside, inside, and I thought to myself, there's been a huge mistake. I'm fine. I can't have them opening my skull for no reason. I have to say something. So I went back up and I told just one of the nurses that I didn't want to go through it anymore. She managed to get one of the surgeons to come in and talk to me, and I told the surgeon that. And she said, would it help if you saw your scan? And I said, well, yeah, I haven't seen my scan. So she brought that in, and I could see the tumour, the big grey blob there. So I said, just effing do it. And she said, yeah, we'll do it. So the next morning I was prepped, and I went in, and I, you know, the whole shebang. I went in and I thought, oh, this will be good. I'll float into unconsciousness. All I can remember is the next minute waking up in the ward and seeing Jason's face there, and it was wild. But I do believe from this point of view, from this stage in where I'm at in the process, it went really well.